Remember, CG, we went to Hollywood and there was an OC musical on stage.
Yeah.
And Autumn played
You were
Julie
very
Cooper.
young.
You did? I totally remember
did.
that.
Yes.
I totally remember that. And I remember, Mom, people were trying to get you to sign things with like a blue pen, and you're like, I will never sign something with a blue pen. You know what they do with the blue pen? They sell it and copy it. And I was like, I don't even know what you're talking about, but okay.
The Sharpies.
I didn't know this either.
Yeah, she
Things
was
I'm
like, I will
learning.
never sign with a blue pen because I guess they can copy it and like.
But not with a black
Something
pen?
about a blue pen on, if you're on the streets and those photo collectible, I guess those people who constantly have photos of people and they'll hand you a blue pen. It has to do with how they can, this is what I remember. I could be totally wrong. You guys can.
That they can like lift it.
Lift the name and then they can lift it and put it on other pieces and sell it. Who knows? Nowadays.
I don't know.
See, things you learn.
That's what she told me.
Things you learn.
I just remember we were like in the middle of the street crossing the crosswalk, and there were like 8 people coming at you with blue pens and pictures, and you're like, I need to get to my car. I need to get my daughter to my car.
Oh my God. It's been such an interesting journey. Everyone, first of all, we're recording, and you guys, and if you recognize the voice, this.
Yeah, we haven't even said hi.
No, but that's, this is how I like to podcast. Welcome to Beyond the OC. We've been trying to define what that means. And I think I always knew, as we'll discuss, my higher self knew what that meant. That because I kept saying, we're not beyond the show ever. We're never going to be beyond
We'll never be beyond the OC.
But I think it's about there is life beyond. And so many of us, I found, as in the process of doing a podcast and reconnecting with people, that we love to talk about the show and our experiences and how it affected people. But I think there's something that the audience might be interested in, because I'm interested in our lives beyond the show. And you were the first person that came to mind that I wanted to talk to, because when I saw you in 2015, I remember we briefly got to talk like afterwards, and you very quickly let me know that you were going through, life had been a little bit challenging at the time. And
I feel like we should clarify who you is if people don't recognize her voice.
Oh yeah, Autumn Reeser.
You haven't said who you is. It's Autumn Reeser.
This is why I have
Taylor. You're just like, yeah, last time I saw you. I'm like, Mom, they don't know who you is if they don't recognize her voice.
Isn't this great? When your kids grow up, they're like right there.
This is great. You're offering her amazing media training off the bat. Well done.
It's like my favorite thing to make her like uncomfortable and talk shit to her, and like I enjoy this so much because I just say things that make her uncomfortable, it's so funny.
Right. But yeah, so she's because she's my best friend now.
You two are so cute.
But I just remember that I was like, in 2015, it was like a challenging time. There was just a number of years that were really challenging, and you indicated you were going through something similar. And I was like, oh my God, we need to talk. And then with the podcast, we got to touch on a little bit of that. And then as I just followed your Instagram and such, I was like, I really want to have a conversation we will talk about the OC, you guys, a little bit, because of course, we will talk about it. But before we get into all of that, I just wanted to catch up with Autumn and just talk about a few things that really are interesting to me. And I think we have very similar journeys.
And I think I'm on a similar journey as well at my young age. I just want to start off by I listened to your interview on the Career Contessa podcast.
Oh my gosh.
And I'm very much on a mental health, emotional journey. I just moved across the country, and I'm I don't know. So everything I heard from, especially you made a post about your new movie, Junebug, and everything you wrote in the comment about inner child. And I was just I get her. I get it. What you're saying, I'm just that's me right now. It just totally resonates right now.
Yeah. So listen,
that's amazing.
You guys, I just for that long opening, I wanted to say on this very special podcast, it's our very first Beyond the OC interview with one of my favorite people. And she played, of course, the absolute favorite character, one of mine, Taylor Townsend. And she has that brand new movie coming out called Junebug, airing August 3rd on Hallmark Channel. Juniper is your character. She's a book editor about to turn 40 and magically reconnects with her 8-year-old version of herself, who questions her life choices, including her dream of writing her own stories. So starting there, you have a new movie coming out, and it's going to lead to all this other discussion.
Yeah, I do. And I'm really excited about this one. I've been working with Hallmark for about 10 years now, and it's developed into this really amazing relationship where I have freedom to bring ideas and stories and pitches and to be involved as an executive producer. So it's been extremely supportive as a woman in the film and television industry to have this playground and have people trust me and have an audience that wants to go along on the journey with me. And so this is a project that I've been developing for about 5 years. And our writer, Summer Israel Johnson, it's her very first time ever selling a project. And she's a mom in her 40s. And so to be involved in like helping somebody's dreams come true in that way is also part of my dreams coming true. So it's special on so many levels. There were so many people involved who put in a lot of love to make this, to bring this story to the screen. And I love the idea of sort of building this healing journey into a romantic drama. I think it's a cool overlap.
Absolutely. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited I'm excited to see this one, because I wanted to go to your Instagram post, because you wrote, having just finished this movie about the inner child, an open letter came through to share with my community. To those of us who are still asking our daughters to, quote, play nice or be a good girl, when you socialize a girl's anger out of her because it makes you uncomfortable, or you're afraid of a woman's power, or because you don't understand your own anger, you are setting her up for abuse. Do you want to elaborate on that a little bit?
Yeah.
We're gonna get into the nitty gritty
Yeah.
today.
Yeah, that was a bit scary to
Yeah.
post. You know, we have a lot of opinions about women in anger, and the journey that I've been on around reconnecting with our sacred rage has taught me why we keep women separate from their anger, because there's a desire to control them, because honestly, we're so powerful. And so as I started doing my healing work and waking up to my anger and getting in touch with my anger, I felt like that was the post that came through, was like a lot of this how dare you energy. Like, no, my anger is sacred, and expressing our anger in healthy ways is important. Obviously, learning how to do that in safe containers. I have friends that I call and I'm just like, can you hold space for my anger, for my shadow right now, for my how dare you? Because other people don't deserve to have our anger dumped on them either. And yet our anger needs to move.
Mm-hmm.
Emotion, energy in motion. It has to move. And so running, walking, talking, writing from that place until the energy burns all the way out. Because what's underneath it is grief, and then it transforms and alchemizes into compassion for the self and for the other. But if you don't allow the truth of it to be there first, you're just suppressing yourself and suppressing yourself and suppressing yourself.
How did you get to the point of like finally being able to like accept your anger for what it is and stop the suppression? Like, I know obviously it's been a long journey for you, but like how did you get to that point to actually feel okay expressing your anger in healthy ways?
Whew, yeah, I think I had a lot of people tell me that anger is wrong
Mm-hmm.
growing up, right? It makes people uncomfortable. And so then you go, there must be something wrong with me. I better play nice. I better play nice. I better play nice, until you nice yourself into nothingness.
Right.
And so the reclamation of that energy, which moves through the sacral and the solar plexus, the root, the sacral and the solar plexus, I've had a lot of help with that. I have a best friend, my best friend's from Argentina, and she's always said, like, your feelings are your feelings. There, if you're feeling it, there's a reason you're feeling it. And I would intellectualize a lot of that and go, no, 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 I'm sure it's this. No, 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 I'm sure it's this. But she's always held space for the truth of my emotions. And I'm so grateful to her, Carolina. And so having that reflection my whole life, or my whole adult life, it's taken me a while to catch up with it.
Mm-hmm.
But now I'm there, and I'm like, thank you for always holding that. And I think one of the practices I like to do is move it through talking. I talk in my car. I have conversations in my car by myself. This is my number one technique for moving it, because for me, a lot needs to come through the voice. A lot of us as women, we've had our voices suppressed. I mean, it's ancestral. It's going through
Mm-hmm.
the lineages back and back and back because of patriarchy. Don't talk, stay quiet, shut up, right? And so much of the reclamation comes through the vibration here, at least I've found. So that's one of my favorite techniques. I just talk, I yell in the car until,
Yeah.
until it gets down to this little nugget of what the actual problem is. And I found once you find what the actual problem is, it sort of boils down to this little piece of gold. And there's usually one thing that actually needs to be said. Whether it's to that person or whether it's written, it's usually one sentence,
Mm-hmm.
and the energy neutralizes. There's usually tears around it, but it's one sentence and you can feel it when you get down to what is the truth.
I just want to say we have one of our Patreon users who just commented and said, I do that in my car too. I feel seen.
I
Yes.
feel
And I've just been going through a bit of a rough patch. And I remember a couple weeks ago, I got into my car. I screamed at the top of my lungs, like gripping the steering wheel. And I've never felt like so much release. I feel like there's something about the car
Yeah.
and like it's your own and you're in it. No one can hear you. Like people can see you, but like
Yeah.
not really.
Mm-hmm.
So that makes so much sense. I'll add that into my practice.
Yeah, screaming in the car, all for it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of this safe container where nobody can hear you.
It totally is. Totally is.
CG, today we get to talk about one of my favorite things. One of my favorite things in the world. It's Blissy. I was introduced to Blissy silk pillowcases when I was gifted one a few years ago doing this podcast. And I'm telling you, it is a game changer. Not a night has gone by without my pillowcase. It's actually life changing. You need to set yourself up with better sleep with Blissy's award-winning 100% mulberry silk pillowcases.
Silk is genuinely what is best for your hair and skin. It reduces frizz, tangles, and prevents breakage and keeps your skincare products and natural moisture on your skin, not on the pillowcase. For those side sleepers, face sleepers like me, I'm telling you, it is a game changer. Say goodbye to wrinkles, dry, flaky, and red skin in the morning, and wake up with healthier and shinier hair.
I say bye, definitely. But you know what I actually love the most? I actually thought about this morning because I rolled over and I just went to the cool spot on my pillow. I love the cool feeling as I put my cheek onto it. And you know I'm a hot sleeper because it's been, it's an interesting thing getting a little bit older, the journey of getting older. There's a lot of hot flashes. But this pillowcase, it's helped me so much. There's no more flipping in the middle of the night to find the cool spot, you know? You know what, CG? I even traveled with mine. I took it to British Columbia on my last vacation. Yeah.
You and Gma got me one for Christmas last year, and it has been on my bed ever since. I have 2 sets of sheets, but I specifically washed the pillowcase to make sure I can keep sleeping with it. When in the middle of the night, if I accidentally roll over to one of my other pillows, I wake up because it feels different. I think my body knows, like, I need to be on the silk.
Yes.
Like, I absolutely love mine. Since December, it has not left my bed.
Oh, I love it.
But don't be duped by claims that satin is a substitute for silk. It is not. And unlike other silk pillowcases, these are of the highest quality 100% mulberry silk and are machine washable and durable. Also, Blissy is the 2021 Good Housekeeping winner for Best Bedding and is featured on Oprah Daily, Allure, Glamour, Pop Sugar, and so many more.
Everybody loves them. They have a ton of different prints and colors, and they make great gifts because there's an option for literally anyone. Men love them too. They have over 1 million raving fans, and you could be next. Try now risk-free for 60 nights at blissy.com/OCPod and get an additional 30% off. That's BLISSY.com/OCPod and use code OCPod to get an additional 30% off. Your skin and hair will thank you. I listen to the podcast too because we've both been through similar journey. I really connected with what you were saying about your 20s and how we all know it in our 20s that we picture, and as Jim Carrey would say, we time travel. We think about the future. We plan it. It's going to be this. It's going to be this. It's going to be this.
Yeah.
And then when things aren't right and you don't know what's wrong, but now I know that my higher self was saying there's something wrong, but in those
Yeah.
moments you're just surviving and doing the best you can. But ultimately at some point it's going to come out in a way that is very scary, I think.
So, Mom, are you like just pulling from my experience of the last 6 months with this little
No, I'm
speech?
talking about myself.
Oh, well, I guess we're pretty similar then.
No, I'm talking about, but there's an interesting thing you don't realize when you start doing work on yourself and you really start identifying, because it's scary. Like, I don't know what's wrong. Nothing's working. I'm not balanced. My nervous system is
Yeah.
dysregulated. Everything feels unsafe. My mind is telling me I'm unsafe, and I'm
Yeah.
anxiety. I'm in fight or flight all the time, and it took a very long time for me to figure out what all of that was, and it's taken me a long time to now understand. And the way you describe it, I have different words on it, but the way you describe it is that is your awakening. That is you, not when these negative or
Mm.
messy things are happening in your life, that you don't say, hey, that's an invitation to actually work on that. You're not, oh, I didn't have the gift of awareness. It was like, that's scary, I need to push that down. But now when you
Oh, yeah.
understand that those life lessons are what bring you to this place of this gift of awareness, so that when that doesn't make me it makes me still imperfect and accepting of my imperfections, and not realizing how much perfection was a part of my life. And you know what really taught me a lot about perfection? The fucking OC, in weird ways. And it's like, because you're on a show, and just these are little simple things. I was thinking about this morning, that, like, and this is not like the way they do our hair and makeup, and the way I watched how Kelly Rowan insisted that they touch up her hair and makeup every single take. And then after the show, I'd go into other shows and they wouldn't do it every single take. And I'd be like, oh no, this is what we need. This is so important. And I realized, like, that when I watch other people, this perfection of saying dialogue correctly or showing up on time, a lot of that's people pleasing, and also the way our brain places judgment on everything. I was doing things out of fear, not like I'm being perfect out of fear of failure, as opposed to,
Yeah.
or being fired, or as opposed to saying I'm an imperfect person and I'm not controlling the future, because when I get to that moment, I'll intuitively know what to do in that moment, because I have confidence and I've been doing it this long. You know, I was like so terrified to ever
Yeah.
make a mistake. And what I noticed that you said is, especially in acting and such, I went back to acting class, somebody that we both know, Cameron Watson. Yeah.
Yeah.
Where I was like,
Love
I'm
him.
learning, like, wait a second, I can be messy in my choices, as opposed to being
That's so
perfect,
beautiful.
because it doesn't
Yeah.
exist. And it took,
Yeah.
so being on the show, when you have like so much success, and you come off the show, I wasn't like, oh great, I've had this incredible I've had this incredible experience, I've earned my place. Instead, I felt like an imposter, and I
Mm.
have to get the next job because I have to pay the mortgage. And if I don't, I'm going to end up in the street. Like, that's what my brain was telling me.
Well, that's a lot of like, that's very much in the collective. That's
Yeah.
just, it's scarcity mindset. And so much of it is learning how to switch from a mindset of fear to a mindset of joy and love and faith and trust. And that sounds like the journey that you went on.
Well, and that idea that, you know, anger was, and still, anger was that hurt or that fear turned inward. Because I remember being on the OC and actually saying to Kelly once, going, I live fear based, and I owned it, because bad things happen and I'm ready for it.
Mm.
Not knowing that that is absolutely one
Mm.
of the worst ways to live, in that you're constantly waiting for the shoe to drop, so that you're literally living in the
Yeah.
moment, like it's happening every single day. And then, so when things did get
Yeah.
messy, or your brain goes off into a different place of, just like like constant anxiety. And when you finally say, I'm not going to live like this anymore because I can handle, or go like you were saying, what was the, I pulled some quotes that awakening can feel a lot like grief. You put that on your Instagram recently.
Yeah, that was a quote from I think her Instagram's Sacred Alchemy. Mia, I forget, head to Nye,
Yeah.
something like that. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I like her post a
Yeah.
lot.
Yeah.
Because I think that is what's under a lot of what we have to move through and alchemize is the grief of separation. The illusion of separation is underneath there. And you have to, at least in my experience, has been having to move towards that, to move closer into unity consciousness, into this experience of oneness. And there's so many tears that we haven't cried, and when we were children or when we were adolescents and trying to be in this world that doesn't actually support us. I think there's a lot of stuck emotion that it doesn't go anywhere. Energy can be neither created nor destroyed. It doesn't go anywhere. It lives stuck in your body until you have the courage to move it.
Or it comes out in interesting ways, and you don't even, if you're not aware of it, you're like, you want to push it down.
It sabotages you.
Can you describe what your, like, that awakening felt like? Like, this is like, wow, I need to make a change. I don't want to live like this anymore.
Yeah.
That's a big question.
Yeah. So it's such a big question.
I have a psychology degree, so I'm like,
you do? Yeah. Okay, that's amazing. Yeah, I started getting one during COVID in depth psychology and Jungian archetypes, and I was studying for a while and then realized I did not like the format of school anymore, and was like, I don't like being told. I have too much of an inner rebel. I was like, don't tell me what to read, when to read it. I will read all the books, but I like to
study
be on
at your own pace.
Hole.
Yeah.
Yes, I like to study at my own pace. But yeah, you and I are aligned in liking to research and dive into all of that. Yeah, I would say my awakening process started when I was 33. It started a little bit after the birth of my first son. I was living in Hawaii for a job in 2012, and basically just started sort of, I guess, hearing the whispers of spirit is the best way I can describe it. Feeling, I mean, Hawaii is such a magical place. And I was living on the island of Oahu and feeling the land and feeling very connected to the elements. But also being very sort of protected against that and not having anyone in my life that was experiencing life in that sort of mystic, oracular way. And so it was disconcerting. I was like, okay, what's going, la, this isn't happening, And then I turned 33, and I don't know how much I'm quite ready to say about it, but basically woke up to what was love in my life and what was not, to the truth of love and what was masquerading as love. And spent the next year of my life sort of dismantling and confronting and facing everything in my life that was not love and truth. Right. And then had another, I think, 6 years of healing PTSD, CPTSD, complex trauma, and also mothering 2 very small children. And so learning many different healing modalities and also trying to support my family and all of that. It was like years of I can now look back and go, oh, that was a spiritual initiation, is that entire experience. And what I kept hearing, because at first I was like, why is this happening to me? I don't understand. Like why is this happening? And what I received was, you're in boot camp. I was like, what do you mean I'm in boot camp? Shut up. I don't want to be in boot camp. I just want my life to be nice and comfortable. Right. And Spirit was like, well, that's not what you signed up for. So it just took me a while to catch up. And to the biggest piece of advice that helped me switch things around was to say hell yes to everything in my life. Mm-hmm. Everything, resistance just makes it harder. And the way I see it now, it's like, okay, I already signed up for this, so I might as well say yes. Because when I say yes to the initiation, now there's other tools that make themselves available to me. Now I get creative. I access my creative force and I go, okay, and you're not fighting what is. Byron Katie talks a lot about this, that suffering comes from resisting what is. And so when you stop resisting what is and you go, okay, I woke up in this to this, what do I do now? I say yes. Then all of a sudden, all of these new tools and options drop in that you didn't see before.
The simplicity is just accepting the planet or the world the way it is. And that's a hard one,
Yeah.
because I think in society, we really do try to strive for like the Taylor Townsends, the A personality, the perfection. And it doesn't exist, because that you end up thinking that the world is happening to me when bad things happen. No, the world just happens. Everything is neutral in the world until we place a negative or a positive judgment on it. And when you have the gift of acceptance, then, like you said, then you're able to, or just accept that life is just as much a part of birth as death is, as grief. It's all the same thing, and it's all centered around lessons and learning. And I was thinking about this morning, and I was just thinking about how sad it is that there's so many people out there, and I'm referring to like social media, how people judge constantly people who are not like them. And I just thought, if you went to a party and every single person believed exactly what you do, looked exactly like you did, and how boring would it be if and that everyone is exactly the same and always right? We need to be wrong. If I'm wrong every day, that means I'm learning. My mistakes, this is a big one for me, to accept being flawed, to make mistakes, to forgive myself every time I make a mistake, just the littlest things. And that I didn't ever, I'm able to be very, I have very tangible experiences about how I used to be, how I reacted to the world, how I thought about things. When you do all of that self-work, and then once you have a child, so many things change, and you're like, and what's interesting is it magnified the things that you haven't worked on. Like all of a sudden the fear was greater, the loss was greater, the empathy, everything was greater, but I hadn't channeled it into something that was okay. You're safe. And that's when you start doing some work, and it sounds like I love that you can put some words or mantras, I have all kinds of little things that I can say to myself to say, oh no, that shadow, that old self, that automatic negative thought person, the ants doesn't get to rule today, because what you're feeling right now is temporary, and it will, tomorrow's a new day, or you're safe, or what's the worst that can happen? Confronting fears with love. All of those things I'm so grateful that I was able to explore all that. But you've gone into a place that I find very, very fascinating, because I feel like I'm just scratching the surface, and being able to be of service and being useful for my family, when a lot of my personality before was just very self-centered. That idea that if you think, I'm going to repeat myself, if you think the world is happening to you, like it's actually kind of selfish. It's not.
But I also think that is the process of awakening, and like how beautiful that you got to go through it. Like, to go from this state into this state, and you're of service with your podcast.
Right. I mean, and just, there's other people out there. When you see that, one of the things that I always notice, if people are still constantly assigning blame to what's going on in their world, like I blame my parents, or I blame the world, blame doesn't exist. Your trauma might not be your fault, but it's your responsibility to learn from it, to holding on to the resentment of family or friends or something that doesn't hurt them. It only hurts. But also, I don't know, it's an interesting thing about wanting to let go of a resentment or people that have wronged you, and the growth that you gain from those experiences. I mean, for so long, so many people can on a day-to-day basis, these awful things happened in my life and I can't get past them. And I noticed, did you mention that you've done EMDR?
Yeah, I feel like I've tried like most healing modalities that are available out
Really?
there. EMDR was really powerful. I had a friend who did simple tapping on me once. That was one of the most powerful experiences I've ever had. And I think really a lot of it is divine timing. Like now I'm ready to work on this, and just the right modality drops in, or just the right teacher, or literally a conversation with somebody at a coffee shop, because the energy is there and ready to move. And that's why I think when the student, they say when the student is ready, the teacher appears. The teacher comes in many, many different forms. It doesn't necessarily mean, oh, it's an official teacher and you go hire somebody. And like, life is our teacher, and when the energy is ready to move, you will, my experience has been, when you're in the process of saying yes to your healing and yes to transforming, everything becomes, a car accident can be your teacher. It's okay, through that, this is what I happened. And that's I'm starting an online community this summer called Earth School, because we're in school. Earth is school. And
Right.
I feel like I came into this life knowing that, going, oh, we're here to like level up or evolve or something like that. Like there's a little bit of a video game element to to this, like, okay, what comes next? And so one of the other best practices I have, that I feel like I've been doing this for 4 years, is just Ram Dass's teaching of be here now. Don't get too far ahead and go, okay, well, when this happens, then I'll blah, blah, blah. Or that we get stuck in the past. I can't believe this, and regret and all of that. The more you can just stay in the present moment and approach everything as school, you're in the classroom of the divine, everything's a teaching, then you get the next lesson and the next lesson and the next lesson. And you can't jump 2 chapters ahead. You're in chapter 1.
Right.
You have to read what's on the page in front of you. You have to confront the lesson that's right in front of you. And like, it takes faith of knowing, okay, I'm always where I'm supposed to be. The next thing is coming in. The next teacher is coming in. And I'm on the journey of evolution. I'm on the journey of returning to love.
Right.
Can you talk a little bit more about this community you're creating in case listeners want to join, or I kind of want to join?
Yeah.
I just want to hear more about it.
Yeah. So I've been mentoring people on this path for quite a while, just helping people. Basically, the way that I think about it is just removing stuff that's not true, stuff that's not love. I think of it like we come into life and we run through a field, and we get to the other, we're like, oh, okay, it's life, but we're picking up burrs the whole way through the field. We're like, oh, I didn't even realize. And you get to the other side of the field and you feel kind of itchy and uncomfortable and you don't know why. And so then it becomes the process of like, oh, this doesn't belong to
Right.
me. Oh, this was something I picked up back there. And so that's what I feel like that's what I've done for myself. And so I work on helping people do that. Just put down what's heavy, put down what's not true. So I decided to start a community to do that work together. So it felt too exclusive and too privileged. And I was like, no, I want to make this affordable and accessible. And also I feel there is such a need for community right now. There's a lot of, in many prophecies, these times are called the Great Shaking or the Great Shift, or a couple other things that are kind of like that. So I think a lot of us are really needing spaces to be held and to transform together.
Yep.
And so, yeah, that's what Earth School is going to be. And I'm excited about
So
it.
can people just follow on your Instagram and get the notification? And
Yeah. And you can sign up on the website. There's like a sign up for a newsletter. But it's like the first time I'm doing anything like this. But I'm really excited about it. I feel really guided in doing it, and really excited to support people in this way. I was doing a book club this last year through Instagram, and it's been really helpful and transformative for people. So I was like, okay, let me make this an official container.
Right. So your website is autumnreeser.com, right?
Yeah, I think that's it.
Yeah. When we spoke, you were mentioning that, and I said, oh, I think I need to tell CG about her book club.
I read a lot.
You do?
Yeah.
Yeah. What have you been reading lately?
Oh gosh, I read a lot of fiction, and also like, like The Body Keeps the Score, those kind of like
Four
things.
Agreements.
But the Four Agreements, those ones. I just started or restarted. I started it when I was in like a very mentally unhealthy place, and I'm like, you know what? This is too sad. I'm gonna put it down and pick it up again. I just restarted A Little Life.
I read that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Whew.
Yeah. So I got like
That's a tough one.
a third, a fourth of the way through, and I was like, I need a break. I took like a 2.5 year break from it, and I just picked it up like a couple days ago to get back into it. But I think like I picked it up because it's very aligning with where I am right now. Like I just turned, or God, not just, wow, I'm like 6 months ago, turned 24, and I'm going through that like mid 20s weird, like, what do I do with my future? What do I want to do here? I
Yeah.
just did this, I just did
Yeah.
that. Like, so I felt like that book would work because they're all like in their mid to late 20s, like 28 or something, like young men trying to make it in New York. And, you know, I used to live in Chicago, and it's just like, but yeah, I'm ready for the hurt from it because yeah, your reaction
There's
is
a lot of trauma
yeah.
in that book. I was like, by the end, I'm like, I can't take it anymore.
Yeah. So
It's
I'm
it's so
prepared
but
for
so
it.
beautifully written.
Exactly.
There's another book coming through to share with you, Quarter Life
Okay.
by Satya. She's a Jungian psychologist, and I'm missing her last name right now, but Quarter Life by Satya, and I can't remember the rest of her name. But she talks about basically what that phase in life that is exactly what you're talking about, and how it's kind of left out from the dominant culture. It's like everybody gets you through college. There's a big celebration. You're expected to go get a job and become, an
Become
appropriate
parents,
member
get
of
a
society.
house, like do
Yeah.
all the things that society tells us we have to do. And I think I had
Yeah.
that plan too. Like I was in college and my plan was the second I graduated to go get my master's in behavioral psychology, like right away. But then I went to school during the pandemic and I realized I don't really like learning as much anymore. I was in a garden unit apartment in the dark on Zoom, like for my entire junior year of college.
Whoa.
So it was like, I don't want to do this anymore. So COVID really just like derailed everything. And then I stayed in Chicago. I had my first big girl job. And then I was like, you know what? I miss my family. So let me move back here. And now I'm back here. And I'm like,
Yeah.
what am I going to do?
We were
Like,
having
Yeah.
what
this
is
Yeah.
next?
conversation yesterday. CG said, Mom, I looked up, like when you were on the OC, when Autumn was on the OC, she was 24, 25, I think, 26. And she said,
Yeah, I wanted to see how old you
you
were.
guys are the same age I was and doing all of that. And I said, you know what, CG, I think your generation that's 20 years ago. And I said 30 for some reason, but you're 24 years ago, whatever it was. I think your new generation, you're not going to be doing what we were doing in our 20s until maybe your 30s. I think, people are going to live longer and you have time and just because
But it just feels like, it's like the impending doom. Like time is ticking away. What are you doing right now? Like,
huh,
get your shit together. Like, you're gonna
Yeah.
wake up and be 40 and be like, what the hell did I do with my life? That's just on my mind like every day. So honestly, Autumn, I think I'm gonna join your course. Or
Yay.
ask you to like personally help me because I wanted to say after you were talking about your course, I feel like where you are is where a lot of people want to be. And I can say like myself included, like at least just where you are like with acceptance of the world, like it doesn't have to be self love or world love, like you just accept things for like the way
Yeah.
it is. And that's where I like want to be very much right now. And I've been on this journey for probably the last like 6 months. And it's hard to let go of old
Yeah.
habits and leave your past self behind. And like I was doing really well, and then I like broke my back at work. Not broke. I
Like
pulled my back.
actually,
No, pulled my back
okay.
like really bad. And then I went through a breakup, and then I had COVID this last week
uh,
within a month and a half. So
Whoa.
I feel like all of those things happening have like derailed me from like the progress I've been making.
hmm.
And so, honestly, maybe you can be my mentor and help me because I'm like, I want to be where you are. And it's like super inspiring to see like the things you have gone through and that, like, yes, it is possible to get to this place.
Well, the quote I wanted to share earlier is breaking down is breaking through. So if you're in the middle of a breakdown, it's literally surrendering even more to it. Like, okay, I pulled my back. I went through a breakup. I've got COVID. What is this here to teach me? And sitting in meditation or sitting quietly and just going like, okay, why? Why is this here? And asking, because a lot of times you'll get answers, even if you don't like them. Okay, I'm really needing to slow down, or, oh, I was letting my ego lead, or whatever it is. I don't know. You seem pretty on a
Yeah.
great path,
Uh,
CG.
I think
Like
there's
you're much more self-aware than I was at
But I
24.
think what she's doing, I didn't do until I turned 50. Because when you actually say, okay, I'm going to stop blaming the world or the people around me, that's just a very simple way of
Yeah.
putting it, and saying, what can I do? What am I responsible for? And I used to, when I said I live fear-based, it was literally this constant fear of the future. And now I'm excited for the unknown. If you just change your narrative in your brain and knowing what you can change, because you can choose gratitude every morning and as a practice.
Yeah.
And even if you don't feel it, that acting as if, or that practice can become your natural default positive person. I mean, I've seen it happen. I mean, I know for a fact that my reactions to the world have changed. And when I think, God, I used to react this way, and now I'm at reacting this way because I'm in a growth mindset, not a fixed mindset.
So yeah, but it's a testament to your growth that you can recognize that you've shown up for the class, you've received the lessons, and now you're receiving the benefits of that. And it's hard to do. It's really hard to deprogram ourselves when we're used to thinking in victim consciousness to shift that into creator consciousness. But that is the process of awakening, trying to move. And we all have programs, not just from our own life, but from our ancestors and from the collective and from the culture. And so I think it's heroic when people do that. And, you know, CG is reaping the benefits of you doing that work. And we're getting to see it here.
You said exactly what I would have said. It's like, I'm a victim of the planet, and being a victim is, when I said I'm fear-based, I know it's going to happen. And that makes you a victim to your own negative thoughts. When you say, when I turn around and say, no, I am not a victim, and the acceptance of not judging everything just because something, what my brain has perceived me as negative, is I'll just keep reminding you, CG, you're going to come through and be stronger, so that when you are ready to, quote, have a life partner or have children or something, you're not going to pass on the stuff that I may have passed on to you.
Oh, I'm like in therapy, I'm like, break the cycle.
Yeah.
Again, like my generation is very different, and like I don't really feel comfortable like bringing children into this world if I feel like I have these negative attributes that I could potentially, not negative, nothing is negative. I mean, like these attributes that do not serve me in this current moment. That if I'm still holding on to these kinds of things, I'm like, I just talked about this with my therapist yesterday. I'm like, I said to my mom actually yesterday, I said, I've let go of like so much resentment that I had like towards my mom, towards my dad, towards my grandparents, like any like childhood trauma that I had. I've completely let go of all of it because I read this in like a psychological article. It's like our parents are living life for the first time as well. Why would you expect them to be perfect?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I don't know, it's just like,
they're in school too.
Yeah, exactly. They're in school too.
Yeah.
You saying like, oh, you can wake up with mom, like you saying wake up with gratitude in the morning, this and that, and like this kind of like rebirth, like becoming a better version of yourself. Like it's very like there are like steps to do it. And there's this creator I follow on TikTok who's about like fitness and bettering yourself, and he says it's simple, but it's not easy.
Never.
Which with this whole thing is how I feel. Like it's very simple, like what you need to do, like you know what you need to do intrinsically to better yourself. Mm-hmm. Like I know exactly what I need to do, but letting go of all these past versions of myself and these past coping mechanisms I gripped, white knuckled onto, like those kinds of things, like it's simple because I know what I need to let go of, but it's not easy. Like you said, like breaking down is breaking through. Like it's not easy. So no. I'm very in awe of both of you that you've all done this, and I've seen my mom transform over the last couple years. So
yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Me too. It's so beautiful. And CG, I'm in awe of you. Like, I wish we could have been best friends when I was 24. I feel like there would have been a lot less suffering on my path because I would have had you as a guide.
Oh God.
So thank you for doing the work.
Yeah, my friends call me the mother of the friend group, so I'll take that.
I can see that. Yeah. And I think, to speak to what you were just sharing, I think the paradox in all of this work is going, okay, there's work that I'm doing on bettering myself, on evolving, on refining things that aren't serving me. And also I'm not broken. And also I'm perfect and whole and holy. Like that both of these things can be true together, because I think our society capitalizes on making you broken, or there's something to fix, or you've got to buy this. I mean, this is capitalism. Oh, capitalize on capitalism. Right. So it's capitalizing on this part of us that wants better. you know? And so it's like, no, I don't need anything because I'm already whole exactly as I am. And I'm on the journey into greater wholeness. So it's
Yeah.
both together.
I think something that is super difficult, like based on what both of you were saying, I think both of you are very good at it, but I'm not yet, is moving away from the victim mindset. Because Autumn, like you were saying earlier, like we as women, I think are created to feel like victims, like the damsel in distress, you know, we need a man to come save us, be riding on a horse, and you know, a man needs to take care of us, and blah blah blah. And so I think like just as women, like victim is like in our genetics. It's like put there over centuries. And I said this to my mom. She didn't tell me like, no, CG, don't say that, which I'm like, Mom, you should have been like, no, don't be a victim. I've been saying like the universe is smacking me down right now. Like everything that's happening to me, the universe is smacking me down. You just shook your head. When I said it to you multiple times, you never said, hey, no, you don't be a victim. You just said, oh, okay.
No, I would just learn to like not to be like I see my child doing things or saying things, and I've learned to say she's on her journey. She's got to live that tangible experience. She's got to live it. I can tell her so many things with words, and maybe a piece will like land or something.
Yeah, I probably wouldn't listen to most of what you're saying.
You have to experience it to actually have the real experience, right? To learn to have the lesson.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think like to speak to the victim piece, it's really hard because we're genuinely victimized sometimes. There are things that happen in which somebody victimizes us, targets us. And so that is also part of the reality, but it's what am I going to claim my identity as a victim? Because that's something completely different.
Right.
Right. And I'll send you there's a graphic that somebody sent me about this, about the victim, perpetrator, savior triangle and what you alchemize it into. Because it was pretty profound for me. I've been working with this a lot with people recently. Like, okay, how do I acknowledge what has happened? One of the things my friend taught me is a lot of times the victim needs a chance to speak. And that's been a big teaching for me this year because I tend to want to bypass that. I tend to want to go like, no, go to creator consciousness. Like, especially I've got a kid that really wants to live in that space. And I see him doing a lot of work there and it can be super triggering for me. Like, oh my God, like he'll go, he hit me and he did this. And it's like a drama. It's such a big drama. And I'm like, I was right there. That is not what happened. But a piece of him really feels like that is what happened. And so one of my teachers, one of my friends has really taught me, you have to just let the victim speak for a minute. Like let the energy, like I was saying with anger, the energy needs chance to run all the way out. That sounds, and so this is something that I've really had to learn on my journey, how to hold space for the victim. Just listen. That sounds really hard. I'm so sorry. That must have been really hard. And just like really give them time to speak.
Yeah, it's like it validates.
Yeah.
I've learned that, when somebody that you love is going through something and you want to fix it or change it or say, you don't have to think of it that way or change their narrative in the moment. It negates how they feel because you want to debate their experience. And I can't debate somebody's experience or feelings. And their feelings are real. They might not be facts, but in the moment, they're very, very, very real. And I think you're right. Like it takes a lot to just say, man, I'm really sorry you're feeling that way or going through that. And then let them a day later, they might say, thanks for just being there for me. I get that I was a little maybe irrational or whatever they're going through, but that's what being there for someone really means. And I used to get kind of cranky or pissed off if somebody was having a bad day.
Well, yeah, Mom, I'm like doing this thing with you now and with Dad where I say I need to vent or I need advice. Like I just need you to listen or I need you to like help me.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
And a lot of the times and I started saying that with my parents because sometimes I'll be venting to my mom and she's like giving me advice. I said, I don't want advice. I just need to tell you how I'm feeling.
She doesn't want
she's like, okay.
TED Talks.
No, but then sometimes I do want your TED Talks. There's moments when you just need to like spill everything to a person you trust and just like someone isn't going to judge you and just get everything off your chest and be like you said, like let the energy run out because yes, sometimes you can be in your car and do it to yourself, but like I trust my mom and my dad. And sometimes I'm like, you know what? I just need to do it to them. Like, I need someone to hear me and be in front of me while I'm saying these things.
Yeah.
And then if I want advice, I'll say, okay, advice. But sometimes you just need to like be direct. And I'm like, communication skills or something that I'm like, I think I'm getting really good at communicating.
Yeah.
And you just have to
You
be like,
are.
I need advice, or I need you to just sit, be quiet, and listen and tell me you love me. Like, that's it.
God, I wish I had had that at 24. That's
No, she
amazing. That's
really is. I
amazing.
said, this journey that you're going through is going to serve you so well. And you're going to have this, and it's a part of it. And when you get to that point, when you say, man, that was really rough, but man, I wouldn't change a thing about it because it's brought me here. And that's an acceptance that all of what you consider the negative or the bad or the messy is part of what makes you're going to experience it at some point. So, but I wanted to ask, because I mean, we could continue and obviously the subject is passionate for all of us, but
We could do like 4 episodes talking about
yeah,
this, honestly.
maybe I do want to ask you, I have a couple things about the book that I wanted to ask you and such, but how did all of this, I mean, I think I know the answer, but I also, of course, need to hear it in your words, that how living like this and this never ending learning all the time, and how did it translate into your work and what you're doing with Hallmark and the projects? I mean, you were always passionate, but did your confidence, like how did it change?
Yeah, good question. I think as I stepped into my story, my lived journey as the creator of it, I started wanting to become the creator of other stories as
Mhm.
well. So started pitching to Hallmark, started bringing forward the stories that I wanted to tell. So the first project that I helped develop and that we sold to Hallmark was called The 27-Hour Day. And it was, I mean, the story of me in my 20s, which was basically somebody who's a girl on the go. Like I used to have a blog called Move Lifestyle for girls on the go. Girl who could do everything, right? Who's buying into that, like, I've got it all. And here's all my hacks. Here's all my life hacks. So we took that girl and sent her on a digital detox week. So she had to learn how to breathe. And then, of course, there's a handsome cowboy or veterinarian or something, and then they fall in love. But I like sort of weaving these deeper messages of healing and transformation and self-discovery into the love stories wherever I can, because it makes me happy. I think it's yummy to do that. So that was the first one. And then this one is so much about her. And I learned through doing them. A lot of times it's just coming through as a story I want to tell, or somebody brings a story and we develop it together and it becomes its own thing. And then I eventually learn, oh, this is why I wanted to tell that story. Like Juniper in this story returns to her roots of wanting to be a writer. And of course, I'm making this movie at the same time that my writing skills are coming online, that my voice is coming online. And so and the story is helping me do that. And so I think that's how my journey's affected my art. And I'm very interested in, I mean, art is transformational. And so I think that's a lot of the work that I'm here to do is stories of threshold crossings and actual threshold crossings and actually helping people across thresholds in their own life. I find those bridge spaces really exciting because they're terrifying usually. And like I co-wrote a musical and it's a coming of age story. So another threshold, right? It's like that thing that we're talking about with UCG at 24, 25, quarter life, leaping into the unknown, crossing these thresholds. I think it's terrifying and exhilarating and makes for good storytelling.
I will say I love a good coming of age movie. They, especially at this
Yeah.
age or like in high school, college, like to be seen like that is like, it touches a different like kind of like notch in you, you know? So I appreciate you doing that kind of work.
And then also one of the things, we'll talk about the OC real quick, because I think, we went back, CG and I like to go back and see like what we did in the last podcast, and you came on our show or the podcast with Rachel and myself twice. So I encourage anybody to, we talked about acting and we talked about a couple episodes, and we really did discuss, that's why we're not doing it so much on this podcast, but so go back and listen if you haven't listened to Autumn's appearances on those, because they're great too. because there's a lot of Taylor Townsend talk on that. But I did want to ask you, because we did this, we all participated in the Welcome to the OC oral history book. And I was really, really impressed with your, I was way more, I guess, pleasantly surprised and impressed with everyone just being so candid about their experience on the show. And because my experience was so fun and I had such a great time and such, I just didn't realize that there was a lot of people that had painful moments between Josh and Stephanie, feeling like it was a bit of a failure. Tate has a lot of feelings about it. And you came in when the atmosphere, as one of the kids, you came in when the atmosphere wasn't as wonderful on set. And it's not that, I don't want to paint a picture. I mean, it wasn't an abusive set or anything. People weren't throwing tantrums or such, but you could feel the energy had shifted. And for you, it was super exciting to be on the show, your first big job. And you were able to express that it was a little disappointing or confusing or sad, or I don't want to put words in your mouth, but you discussed it at length in the book.
Yeah, well, I thought it was really nice that Josh and Stephanie gave us all permission to be honest in the book, because I also always want to be respectful of everybody else's experience, and my feelings are my feelings, but that doesn't mean I have to share all of them all of the time,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so Josh and Stephanie personally reached out and were like, "No, we want you guys to be truthful. We want you to be honest." And so I really appreciated that permission to just say all of it, because so much of it was really amazing too, and I hope I spoke into that as well. But I think, what you just said, like, oh, I didn't realize this, because we're still moving out of a culture where you had to present perfection, and certainly in the industry that we're in and on a show like that, where it's like everything has to be seen as perfect, right? And so moving to the yes and the both and to be able to hold all of it. Here's everything that's wonderful, and also here's everything that's challenging. But you really couldn't talk in that way. I remember Katherine Heigl getting eviscerated in public for saying that 17-hour work days shouldn't be happening. And that's a very reasonable thing to expect. Like, she was not only advocating for herself, she was advocating for the crew, people who are exhausted driving home, driving home in unsafe conditions when they have worked too many hours, because they're there even longer than the actors. But she got eviscerated and pinned as being selfish or whatever it was. And so there were a lot of sort of cultural mechanisms in place to encourage people not to speak up.
Mm-hmm.
In that way, because and it's still happening, people get canceled, right? And it's like it prevents people from being able to speak the totality of the truth.
Right.
So I felt grateful that they gave us a spot to do that.
I thought it was really interesting because there was a lot of, so many people said that, between the podcast and the book, there was a lot of healing that went on, like there, like where we push it away. And I was really, for my own personal, and the podcast that everyone knows this, that I just was curious, like what was going on behind the scenes. So that stuff, with the executives and everything was really. Did you read the book?
Yeah, I didn't read it in detail, but I read a lot. of it,
yeah. So I just thought the whole thing was really.
It was nice to hear their perspective.
Yeah, the whole thing was really interesting, and I so get it because, and Josh was talking about how. He said, this is not negative in a negative way. We're interesting. We're like wild creatures. And if you put us in a cage, then, we have to express ourselves. And you do one thing and you want to reinvent yourself. And I was like, I get that. But what's interesting is at that point in my life, it was a perfect job for me because I had a 3-year-old at home and I wanted to be put in a cage. Here's my job. I go to a little bit and I get to stay home. And whereas now I'm like, I want to get out and be creative because now she's older and you know what I mean? Where you're not having to be that mom constantly. I'll never stop being mom, CG, don't worry. But it was an interesting, I recommend everyone watching or reading the book,
I do want to ask about being on the OC. You were 24, 25, and you became a series regular in the 4th season, and you were pretty big towards the end of the 3rd season, end of the 3rd season as well. Just knowing, I know it's different generations, but from where I am, I said to my mom, I was like, I can't imagine having that much responsibility, like being a regular on a television show, and like your frontal lobe was like just developing. And it developed at 25. So you were like
26.
just there.
Interesting.
And like, I just want to know, like, how did you deal with that pressure of like, you're so young and like you still have all these emotions? And I know you said you did a lot of like pushing down and things like that, but like, how are you able to do that? Just like, you know, as us when our quarter life crazies going on, like you accomplished so much more than people my age have done by that time. And like, how was it like being in a really forming time period and having that much responsibility on a television show?
Oh my gosh. First of all, this is so amazing. CG, you're amazing. And I just like, I remember being in the makeup trailer with you at like 3, 4,
With your
and you
papillon?
holding my little dog. Yes. Like, and just like, it's just what a wild journey the three of us have. Like, this is just very cool. I just have to say that.
I
This
think we
is
have that
just
picture
amazing moment
framed
of
somewhere
life.
in this house, right, Mom?
Actually, we put Cindy, we put her hair, we made her pigtails, and then the picture with your papillon. What was
With the
Yeah,
dog,
like
with
the
the hair.
pigtails were like all
This makes
papillon, like,
sense.
yeah.
we have that?
This makes sense. This is what we were doing. Oh my gosh. But just to have witnessed you over the last 20 years. Wow.
I also think there's something to be said for when you discover this at a very young age, like you're dancing, being a performer from when you're 7 or something. And that is the one thing that I knew I wanted to do. I wanted to be a performer, musicals, acting. It was the only, like, that's it. And I was like that. Did that happen for you as well? So it felt
I
nice.
asked her a question and she hasn't answered it yet.
There we go.
You are once again overstepping me.
Boundaries. Well done.
Yeah, boundaries, mother.
I'll answer both. How about this? See, both and I can answer both. Well, I'll tie it into what you were saying earlier, CJ, about this energy of like, there's not enough time. Even at that time, like I started in, I can answer this question together. So I started acting when I was like 6, 7, and it was very much, I saw a play and was like, I want to do that. That's what I do. Yes. And I was an early reader and lines have always come really easy for me. I'm very cerebral. And so I studied in theater in my hometown my whole life growing up. I always knew that I would move to LA and be an actor, or at least try. And, but I also always felt behind. I always felt like there was not enough time, like time was running out. So even when I booked the OC, I was having these two dueling conversations. The one half of me that's that, self-saboteur, the imposter syndrome. And these are all archetypal energies that we all carry. So everybody can relate to this in some area of their life. So the part of me that's saying, it's too soon, I'm not ready. Right. The fear part. And then the other part of me that's like, it's too late. This should have happened 4 years ago, which now I can look back and go, that's ridiculous. But always feeling a little behind and always feeling like other people were a little ahead of me or knew a little bit more. And then eventually you just get okay with it and go, yeah, some people are a little ahead of you. A lot of people know a lot more. And you're further ahead than these people, and it's all okay. It's all divine timing. It's all perfect. All I have to do is be in the center moment, in the center of myself, in the present moment, and feel into what's a yes and what's a no. And that's also taken a long time. Like I've said yes to a lot of things that were no's, and then was like, yeah, I probably shouldn't have done that project, but I was afraid that I wouldn't get another one or whatever it was at the time. And so having all those parts be part of me. But the OC for me was absolutely like a dream job. And I was very quiet for a while because everybody was so cool and it had been going for 2 years. So they had a really strong pod going. And I just I didn't want to mess it up.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to make sure that like I did the best job I could. It was a dream role. I loved Taylor. I really got her. And I love the opportunity to do comedy too. And so the fact that they just kept building that part of her was super yummy for me. And it's interesting because I didn't feel young. I was already like renting a house. I kind of lived my life reverse. I feel like I lived a lot of my what people would think of as their 20s in my 30s, honestly. And I feel like I lived my 20s in this very, like, I had a boyfriend from the time I was 21. We were living together. We had a whole house together. I was throwing dinner parties at 24.
Yeah.
It was very, I was very domestic because that was the example. That's what I thought I needed to do. And it helped me feel safe. And that's how, my mom, when she was 24, was married and had me. And so I was kind of trying to live that life and then also live this other life. So I don't know. I never felt I guess I felt all of the things.
I did that too. I think there were so many things that we did, dinner parties and just, living, a very similar life where you thought that it was just going to continue forever. And it's just when you just release and you say, I'm not in control of this. And the universe is going to, there's all kinds of things happening behind the scenes, as I say, that for you, and being open to what something brings. Because I mean, even to this day, it's like I was going to ask you, like, how do you think the future of this industry with AI, not IA. I was thinking of IATSE. Well, I was thinking of the IATSE and the and AI, but IATSE is the union. But just how this industry is going to be, because you put yourself out there, and when you accept, I'm getting older, it's like you're still auditioning, but I haven't worked recently, but everybody's out of work, or the industry is redefining itself. And I can have disappointment, or I can say, no, this is exactly the way it's supposed to be, because there's something else for me. Mm-hmm. When something doesn't work out that you set your sights on, it's just, I mean, being an actor is like that our whole lives. You all we can do is be in the moment. This is my job. The self-tape is the job. And then move on to the next. And, but yeah, it'll be interesting, because, I mean, do you have opinions on AI about how it's changed?
Gosh, I try to view everything as neutral, right? Because there was so much villainization of it.
Right.
And so I think most things are both. Most things are both. There are ways in which I could be like, that's really fucking scary if it used in the wrong hands. Yeah. Right. And then other ways that I'm like, wait, but it's really nice that AI knows how to search through my pictures and find, like, I can type in a word and it can find it in my pictures. Yeah. And I never had to tag anything. Like, that's kind of amazing. So I think, like most things, it depends on what level of consciousness is engaging with it. Right? If you're coming from the consciousness of love and unity and you're engaging with it, it's a beautiful tool. And we're in Age of Aquarius, it rules technology, right? And so everything's right on time. There's no problem with it. It's not like this evil force or this is my opinion, that has come over to like derail humanity. It depends on the level of consciousness you want to engage with it. So if you're in a dark space in your mind and you think about doing horrible things to other people, then all of a sudden it becomes a weapon. Right. So I just go, well, I don't really spend time with any of that consciousness anyway, because it's no, thank you. So I guess I look at it as a tool, and I try not to think too far into like fear of the future or jobs or any of that, because I feel like sometimes when we go into that space, what's really happening is, and I'm wondering if this has happened with you with the podcast, right, is going, well, what else do I have to offer? What else can I birth through me? Right? There's that pressure that starts to happen of, ooh, I need the next thing. Okay, amazing. What is asking to come through me? What's asking to be offered? Like, I never thought I would be, when we were working together 20 years ago, that I would be on your podcast with your daughter now.
Well, yeah, we didn't even know what podcasting was, but I was thinking, at first I thought this was incorrect thinking, but I think it's pretty similar, because I think there is going to be a future where some AI is replacing production and actors and such. It's already happening. But when you think about when the age of silent era films went into, quote, talkies, there were thousands of people who couldn't make the switch or adapt. And so we're going to have to adapt. We've had tons and tons of changes in our lives that we have to adapt to. And, I thought about it and I said, so if AI replaces actors in production so much so that we don't ever have to go to work as actors, a lot more people will start doing theater, and more people will come to the theater because they want to see people in real life be that. And I said, that's fine. I'll continue to do that.
Wait, Autumn, you just said astrology. I'm not like the most like up on astrology. Are you a Virgo?
I am a Virgo.
Did you know that?
And
are you?
No, I'm a Capricorn and my mom's a Taurus. We're all earth signs.
Oh, I love
I need to know exactly where I am at any moment. Like, that's north, that's south. Yeah.
That has what are you talking about? Astrology north south?
Well, as a Taurus, I have to have my feet on the ground and I need to know
Oh,
where
I
I
was
am
like,
at any
are
moment.
you getting the word astrology confused for
No,
like
no.
direction?
Topography. No. Well,
Yeah,
listen,
topography.
so we're running out of time, but I did like, we were going to get into like our favorite Taylor moments. Do you have like, I mean, I have a few here that we could talk about really briefly.
We found this like the top 13 online, and I read through it, and I was like, those aren't the best ones. There's so many better ones.
Yeah, you watched the whole thing. What is tell me what is the best one? Because I feel like you've watched it much more recently than I have.
Well, I was 18 when I watched the whole thing all the way through, so about 6 years ago. But we've been watching episodes as we've been doing the countdown, and a lot of the episodes have been like season 3, season 4, and we just watched
The Earth Girls Aren't Easy.
the Earth Girls Are Easy episode, and Taylor in that entire episode, I'm
Yeah.
I'm just obsessed with her because she's like, one, she pretends to be pregnant to
Right.
protect Summer. She keeps saying, "You think I'm a dirty adulterous whore," which is so
Don't
funny.
bring that up.
It's so funny. And then you're drunk dancing with like an alien,
Yeah. I mean,
like a
there's
guy in an alien costume. It's like that whole
Yeah,
thing. Like I don't know. Like none of those
Taylor.
moments were on this top 13 we found online, and I was like, it's
It's
not
that's one of my
okay
favorite
that they're not.
episodes.
Yeah.
That's so funny. Yeah, I have great memories of that episode because for numerous reasons. One, I love to be on location. I love to be outside, and we got to drive into the desert and be on a rig, and we were at this like random beautiful I was a photographer at the time with film camera, and so I have all of these great shots
oh,
of that
Oh, that's so
location
cool.
out in the desert. Yeah, I'll see if I can find one because Mindy, I think we're in one of them
fun.
together.
No, we'll take anything. Yeah,
And
because the OC
yeah,
fans are like,
I'll,
is there anything we haven't seen? And it's like, I pulled
Yeah.
out the bikini last
I'll
episode.
see if I can find some of those.
Oh my God, she wore like in the
I
last
just
time we
saw that.
recorded,
I
she
saw
put
the stretchy Dior. I just watched it on
Yeah.
Instagram.
yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
that was so cute. Yeah, that episode was so fun because my parents came and
oh,
visited too, and so it was like this really beautiful moment of like everything they'd sacrificed for me to get. I'm gonna cry. To get to that place in my life and to be like living my dream as an artist in that way and have them come and be a witness to it is really
yeah.
special.
No, you were just a breath of fresh air. And it's just like I will always say to young actors out there, if you get the opportunity to be on a long form television, showing up and knowing knowing your lines and taking chances, which you can do in the show like that, then the writers say, and even Josh says in the book, when we saw Autumn, it was like, who's that? How exciting. And they get excited to write for you because you bring something even more to what they do. And I think that's kind of like, it just taught me so many things. But well, listen, there are so many moments, and I'll just read the list really quick and people can when she stepped in for Marissa as social chair, when she battled Summer for social chair. Did she do that? I think when she finally showed her
Yeah.
vulnerability, when she ripped off Ryan's shirt, when she tried to get Ryan drunk at dinner, that was funny. When she made up with
yeah.
her mom,
I remember that one.
when she pretended to be a sleep therapist, when she dream seduced Ryan. This one I loved. Whenever she was so sex positive, which was interesting because I read in the book that after Gail Berman had left and the FCC stuff with Nipplegate and all that, because Gail Berman had to testify in front of Congress and all that, Peter Lagori was like, push the envelope. So they took your character because she was a little bit older and they could make her, she was this uptight girl, but she was sex positive and exploratory, I guess.
She was like having threesomes on the side.
I know. It's
like no shame.
A dirty adulterous whore with a French husband,
Sleeping with the dean.
And it
oh
worked.
God, I forgot about that.
I don't know if we'd call that one sex positive.
Yeah, I'd say that's verging on illegal or is illegal, but
No more, yeah. When she revealed her dating requirements, she was funny. Yeah. When she lied about having an affair so she could get divorced, when she helped Sandy punish a man committing sexual assault, and when she was Summer's maid of honor. And then, of course, the pregnancy one that CG was talking about. But oh wait, you said that when she helps Marissa get back into harbor.
Yeah, that was because we watch things out of order on this podcast, and there was one episode we watched where it was like, when you were hooking up with Dean Hess, it was like, you were just like awful to Summer. You're like, you're following me and I'm close with the Dean and blah, 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 and just like a bitch. And then
It was
the next episode I think we did was when you got Marissa back into Harbor. And you're just like, I love Marissa. I love these people. Look at us. We're such a friend group. And I was like, how did we get from here to here?
Yeah. Well, the OC
I'm
was
like,
good at they were good
yeah,
at
but because
the villains
because we skip
and
around,
making them
like because we
And
bounce
also
around.
it was a soap, so
Yeah.
a lot of things happened.
But
Yeah.
it was just very funny to see like that episode when you helped Marissa get back into Harbor. The one I had watched previously, I was like, this girl doesn't like these people. Like,
Yeah.
and then you just become this like great friend to all of them. And I was like, oh, okay, I like that.
Yeah.
When you like stand up to your mom and go against your horrible mother.
Yeah, she had a fun journey.
She
Yeah.
did. So listen, let's end CG with a rapid fire for Autumn, a fun rapid fire.
Okay. You can either do this based on like Taylor or like you now, however you want to answer the questions. Seth or Ryan?
I'm so bad at these, you guys. These are like I'm so bad at these because I'm like, well, both and blah blah blah. I'm like the worst. I'm so annoying. I can make an argument
Both,
for
right.
both. I'm good. That's going to be my answer
Okay.
on all of these. I'm so sorry.
Well, Marissa or Summer?
I mean, this I
Okay.
can't.
Okay,
I
the other
can't.
ones
I literally.
the other ones aren't people. The other ones are like preferences.
Okay.
Water polo or comic book club?
See, this is the problem. There's no.
She's
This
an
is like when
acceptance of
people ask
everything.
me. People ask me what my favorite food is. I'm like, what is the scenario? Is it summer? Is it winter? Who's there with me? How am I supposed to answer these things? Truly.
I know.
Like just whatever comes to your head right away.
Oh God, what comes to my head is I don't have a preference. Oh, I'm
Well,
the
hold on.
worst
Do
at
you like
this. I'm so
Vegas or
sorry.
Miami? I can't.
Neither?
Either.
Both?
Okay. Books or movies?
Both.
I can eat books.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Sunrise
Because
or
that's-
sunset?
Both.
Okay.
Both.
Beach or mountains?
Both.
Okay. Pancakes or waffles?
Waffles.
I'm a
found one.
pancake girl.
This one is, again, just like my psychology brain, a love language one. Quality time or words of affirmation?
Well, they kind of go together, right? Because if you're spending quality time with somebody, you're sharing what you love about them. They go together.
Yeah.
You can say both.
Yeah, both.
Both.
This is the easiest like rapid fire we've done. Most people are very like polarizing with their answers. You're like, no, both.
I'm so
both.
bad. Sometimes we do this on Hallmark and they're like, candy canes or tinsel. I'm
What?
like,
Both.
I can't. I'm the worst. I'm like, let me ask the questions because then I won't delay the entire process.
So listen, guys, I didn't know. I don't know if I reminded you of this. We have a bunch of our Patreons in the chat and they've been commenting the whole time. And we got so involved that I didn't get a chance to.
Yeah, should we scroll up and see if they have any questions?
So there's quite a few. Everybody was commenting and saying all kinds of wonderful things and totally identifying.
Hashtag hair goals.
Yeah.
So what I'm going to say,
Stephen asked, is there anything from the OC that you learned about yourself and have been able to continue with afterwards professionally?
Yeah, I mean, so many things. I think you can really see it if you know where I was in season 3 versus where I was in season 4. I found my confidence. I'd never had an extended period of. I was doing a lot of guest star work. I was doing, sitcoms, and then I was also showing up in like as a dead person in Cold Case, and like doing all of the things that we do as young actors when you're trying to get your career going. And then this was the first job that I really got to grow with a character, to go on an entire character arc. And you can see me relax over the course of this. You can see me figure out how to find my light, how to fall in love with the camera, how to become less afraid, because I was coming from primarily theater work, which I think, in going back and watching it, Mindy, for the OC podcast last year, I could see that on myself. I'm like, oh yeah, I don't understand the relationship with the camera yet.
Do you have to become a technical actor too?
Yeah. And you have to have time and space to do that. You can't just, it's harder to do when you're just coming in on these one-off roles. So I had time to do that, to relax, to become confident, to fall in love with the camera. I mean, it was an amazing training ground.
So listen, thank you so much for being here. We're going to take a break. We're going to finish up here, take a break, and we're actually going to zip over to everyone zip over to the Zoom, and you can ask Autumn all kinds of questions.
Oh, fun.
So thank you all so much for listening. Please be sure to check my Instagram stories and posts at the Melinda Clark, as well as our weekly Reddit thread for what episodes we're covering next. Will it be one of your favorites? Do you want to join us on the pod? If so, please go to speakpipe.com/ocbitch or email us at beyondtheocpodcast@gmail.com and let us know why it makes it your favorite. So do you have a favorite line or a favorite scene? We might play your voicemail on the show and ask you to come on live to discuss. And if you'd like to watch this podcast, check it out on Beyond the OC YouTube channel. You can leave comments there too.
And if you want to be a part of the conversation, you can join our Patreon. You get episodes early and ad-free, and you also get to be a part of the audience when we're recording. It is super fun. You get to be a part of a really fun community, so you guys should do that. And join us next week for number 40 in the countdown, The Blaze of Glory, Season 2, Episode 16.
And that being said,
bye, bitches.
Okay. Thanks, Autumn.